Nigeria of the 19th century. Nigeria were separate and independent entities that flourish in their different kingdoms, empires, and states. The pre-Nigeria nation was a conglomeration of the mega-centralized Ife, Oyo, Benin, Sekiri, Ijo, Kanem Borno, Hausa states, and the mini non-centralized Acephalous Igbo kingdom, like the Abo, Tiv, Ibibio, and Izan society. Intergroup relations existed among the people as a result of commercial trade, intermarriage, festival, religion, migration. The 19th century of the 1800 to 1899 was a turning point not only in the Nigeria history but also in West Africa history generally. The 19th century period was age of change, from the Middle Age period to modern period, bringing great changes, which are far-reaching effects on religion, social economy, cultural and political life of people in the region. It marks the beginning of a new age, quite different from that of the pre-1800. Although social formation within the various geographical regions remained diverse, several relatively large centralized states came to dominate geopolitical and economic dynamics during this time period. In the first decade of the 19th century, two unrelated developments that were to have a major influence on virtually all the areas that is now Nigeria today, ushering in a period of radical change. In the northern Savannah zone, religious revival took place. Islam was re-established as a state religion through a series of revolutions in several states in Nigeria, starting in Sokoto. The Islamic Jihad of Usman Dan Fodio led to the establishment of Sokoto Caliphate, or the expansive state that brought under one government all the Haw states. The Jihad revolution impacted the Nigerian economy of the 19th century greatly in aspects of political change, the economy and social transformation, increasing trading in the northern part, mostly on the towns around towards states. States in northern part of Nigeria were declared Islamic State due to the series of revolt, spreading the great cause all over the states, also giving impetus to the development of education. Learning of Arabic, the language of Islam, was adopted throughout the Hausa states. Population increase occurs because of the trade, migration security. Many groups left their former abodes and fled for safety. New opportunities by new convert, in which new settlements were found. Secondly, in 1807, Britain declared the transatlantic slavery to be illegal, an action that occurred at a time when Britain was responsible for shipping more slaves to America than any other country. Although the transatlantic slave trade did not end until the 1860s, it was gradually replaced by other commodities, especially palm oil. The shift in trade had serious economic and political consequences in the interior, which led to the increasing British intervention in the affairs of Yorubaland and the Niger Delta. The rise of Sokoto Caliphates and the economic and political adjustments in the south strongly shaped the cause of the colonial conquest in the end of the 19th century. In the southern region of the greater Nigerian area, political and economic transformation occurred as well. In southwest, the Empire of Oyo fell early 19th century, ushering in an age of intraregional welfare, as new Yoruba state fought for domination over areas that had previously been stabilized by the rule of the Alafin. Simultaneously, the British abolition of slave trade in 1807 led to an open attempt to redirect of trade away from human cargo towards items of like legitimate commerce. In the 19th century, however, witnessed the abolition of slave trade and its replacement with legitimate trade. Some European states, notably Britain, took steps to bring about suppression of the evil traffic in human beings and replaced it with legitimate trade in agriculture and forest products like palm oil, timber, ivory. The end of slave trade meant an end to wars and miseries, brought as well as the end of other evil effects in trading. The Nigeria economy of the 19th century faced the exploitation of the economy by the Europeans. Europeans approached the Nigerian society as missionaries and traders, first to spread Europeans' religious culture and economic ideas among the people. marking the beginning of European imperialism in the region today. The Europe came to Africa not only to trade, but to rule, exploiting the mineral resources, taking the independence from them as the continent. Africa was partitioned following the Berlin Conference of the 1884-1885. The 19th century effects on religion in Nigeria were both on revival of Islam in the Savannah Zone and the reintroduction of Christianity in the forest by the European explorers, causing the defeat changes in the period, which makes the Nigerian community into a nation-state. On the economic history of Nigeria fell into three periods: the pre-colonial period, which covers the longest part of the Nigerian history, and the colonial period, covering an age of 60 years of colonial rule in Nigeria, and the independent period, starting from October 1, 1960 till date. The Nigerian economy revolution of the 19th century cleared way for expansion of trade in agricultural produce from Africa to Europe, developing the economy in agricultural produce after the abolition of slave trade. The existence of social change in Nigeria as promoted civilization, formal education, industrialization, globalization, as well as technological advancements in the region. The colonial imperial rule of the 19th century upgraded the social life of the then Nigerians, also their ways of life, mode of dressing, and former education was adopted from the British, called Western education, emerging first in the southern part, making the British language, English, their official language. At the administrative level, colonialism created political centralization, using the emirate structure through the indirect rule system. Though the structure were quite different in some other areas, it was possible to find centralized administration in places where empires and kingdom are developed. After the independence of the country, Nigeria adopted a new form of government, democracy, and became a democratic federal republic. Due to the series of the revolts in the 19th century, these series of revolt that occurred in Nigeria in the 19th century had numerous changes in the functioning of the country, and has great impact in shaping the course of the country into what it is today. In the modern economy, after the independence of the 1960s,